questions with regard to the building of the community center. And that had to do with who was in fact going to be the general contractor, and a lot of those things were, and I think still kind of are left up in the air. In one sense it's the city, and in another sense, you know, it's not. So there were a lot of questions there. The cost of the performance bond is something that I think, you know, while not impossible to swallow, and I don't want to say prohibitive, it's something that I know Mr. Suri indicated is would cause him to, and I don't want to say cut corners, but keep things more to minimum specs than what he's actually intending to build. His intent to build, you know, includes things that will in the long run save operating costs, those things being additional insulation, you know, additional dividers or things to that effect, that he's gone above and beyond the minimum requirements. And so, you know, I think if that performance bond is required, and we maybe see a cutback in some of those other things that would save in the long run. I think, you know, another thing that needs to be considered is the city is holding a substantial portion of the payments as well, and making sure lien waivers are being provided to the city before any city funds are going out as well. And so we do kind of hold some purse strings there, which helps to enforce his payment of his portion of it as well. And then you've got to look at some other things too. The benefit that he perceives for the motel development by completing this and making sure that, you know, that there is not liens against the building. So, you know, you've got some weighing or some pros and cons there as well. When you look at Mr. Suri and his judgments, first of all, and I'll have to confirm this, it was Ms. Gumble who did a lot of that negotiating with Mr. Ritzy from Austin, was representing Mr. Suri as they were coming to that. But I believe that F&L Management and Development, Inc. is a different entity. And you'll see that a lot of times with developers, where they'll create different entities for different development projects or for a number of development projects. But I believe that's a different entity than the one that we're working with.
It's the same principle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand that. But I think you don't have a worry about these attaching to this project or the motel.
I'm not concerned. I'm concerned with the fact that the man that we're expecting to put in, how much, 300,000 into this? How much is he putting into the community center?
Time motel, I guess.
Wasn't
Wasn't
that specified in the development agreement?
No.
I think the sum was, well, it was anything over what the city was, but the estimates were somewhere in the neighborhood of 250,000, if I remember right. And I'm going off memory here, which isn't as good as it we should.
Well, that's what I kind of remember as well. But I'm not concerned about these judgments attaching. I'm concerned about the fact that he leaves these judgments sitting out there without paying them.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that some of them are in repayment, and others, there may be a valid reason for them still being in negotiation or not being executed. And I'm not privy to that information.
Well, I just want to be on record that I'm extremely upset that there's no performance bond that's going to guarantee that that community center is going to be finished if he can't do it.
And I understand, and I agree that that is that would definitely be a prudent thing to have in place. I agree that payment of performance bonds, if you can get them, are always advisable.
If it had been done with conventional bidding instead of best value, would a performance bond have been required? because it's required by state law.
Yep, yep, and I think you're still gonna run into the same kind of questions. And that is, you know, you're gonna wanna look to who is in fact the contractor on it. You're gonna wanna look to who, or whether or not this is technically considered a public works project. I think it probably is, and I think it probably would have been required.
Okay. That's all I have to say on the
Okay.
subject.
You know, like I said, I didn't review all my files. There's a number of other things going on. If you've got questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Are there any questions about the lesser home? We're about ready to take it down and don't have any
No,
concerns.
that was condemned, and we were,
Yeah.
Is the bid gone out, or what's the,
There's no bid.
no bid?
You want to explain the process?
I'll cover it under my talk.
Okay. I don't think you're gonna have that much time, Jeff. Why don't you explain it now?
Well, what's going on is, I require a building to be clean according to the MPCA rules before you're allowed to tear it down. And the rules are that you can't have anything in the building, whether it be mercury, asbestos, nothing can be in the building. So because this is taxpayer 100% funding to tear this down, and we don't get to own the land, we get nothing out of this whole thing, which drives me insane. I'm going to use STS to do all of the work on the inside and clean it out. We're going to give a one-day dumpster. Once that STS crew gets there to fill that dumpster, it's going to be gone that afternoon because we do not trust the dumpster to sit down there overnight. And everything will get cleaned out of the house immediately. Then we'll put it out to bid for contractors after we show the contractors, whoever gets the bid, that it is clean, so they don't have the responsibility of the MPCA.
and they're gonna haul it away to
And they'll
wherever
haul it away.
landfill takes that.
Right.